जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवरधारे यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारे जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's kind of nice. It should go on the
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajgacharya Stotram Shat Shri Srimati Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavat Mahapurana ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirate Nashtaprashu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nayashtaki. So today's verse is Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 44. So we're going to read the verse from here. Sampadaya manam agyaya. 1.9.44. Sampadaya manam agyaya. Bhishamam brahmani nishkale. Sarve babhuvaste tushinem vayamsiva dinataya sampadayamanam agyaya bhishmam brahmani nishkale Sarve babhuvaste tushnim vayam siva dinataye sampadayamanam agyaye bhishnam brahmani nishkale sarve babhuvaste tushinim Vayamasi vadinataye. Yes, Prabhuji.
Sampabhyamanam ajnaya
Sampadyamanamagyaya
Vishmam brahmani nishkale
Brahmani Niskale
Sarve bhavu
Sorry.
Sarve Bhagavaste Tushnem
Hayam Shiva Dinath Yaye
Yam Siva Dinatyaye Sampadyamanamagyaya
Sapadamanyam agyaya.
Bhishmam Brahmani Niskale
Bhishmam brahmani nishkale.
Sarve Bhagavaste
Sarve bhutsva tushinam.
Vayam Siva Dinatyaye
Vayam siva dinataye. Word meaning, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please repeat the word meanings after me. Sampadayamanam, having merged into. Agyaya, after knowing this. Bhishamam, about Sri Bhishma Deva. Brahmani, into the Supreme Absolute. Nishkale, unlimited. Sarve, all present. Bhubhuva, they, all of them became. Tushini, silent. Vamsiva, like birds. Dina Attaye, at the end of the day. Please read the translation. Knowing that Bhishma Dev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. So, this is a beautiful verse again coming up after the departure of Bhishma Deva. So, Bhishma Deva breathed his last while he was looking at the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it says here in this verse, knowing that Bhishma Deva had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. So we all know what has happened, what's happening in this. It is the final departure. Bhishma Deva is leaving his body. His departure from this body is one of the most sacred, powerful and emotional moments in the Mahabharata. It symbolizes perfect detachment. It symbolizes perfect detachment. Because we read yesterday with his mind, with his speech, he actually gave up everything. He merged his speech, his actions, his mind, everything actually merged into the Supreme Lord. So it says here that it symbolizes perfect detachment. He was a warrior and yet he was so dedicated to the Supreme Lord. He was fighting against, he was with the army, he was with Kauravas who were fighting against Krishna, who had no faith in Krishna. Yet he was with them according to his vows, according to what words he had given, promises he had given. But yet his mind, his actions were totally with the Supreme Lord. It symbolizes perfect detachment. While we are in this material world, we are with the forces that are working against Krishna here. We sometimes, in the material world, we are facing so much aggression, so much of talk that goes against the Supreme Lord. Yet, how can we remain detached? How can we remain devoted? And how can we remain spiritually realized souls? This is the example given by Bhishma Dev himself. So Bhishma Dev leaving his body, it says it's a divine departure. After fighting nearly for 10 days in the Kurukshetra war, Bhishma was defeated by Arjuna. He fell on the battlefield but chose not to die thanks to his Ichha Mrityu boon that he had. He had that he could decide the time he would leave the body. He was on the Sharshaya, he was on a bed of arrows for 50 days. He laid down there with no support under his head. And then finally, Arjun places 3 arrows as a pillow The Krishna himself actually dictated that, and 3 arrows were placed as a pillow underneath his head. He waited for the Uttarayana, yesterday I said so he waited for the auspicious transition, the solar transition that is favorable for the yogis to leave the body, and thus he left his body upon the Uttarayana. So Bhishma actually, before departing, he was praising the Supreme Lord, he was singing the glories of the Supreme Lord, who was standing before him. He recalled all the forms of the Lord, from the battlefield to the universal form. If we go to the previous verses, near about 10 to 12 verses, he is glorifying the Supreme Lord all the time. He is glorifying his all forms. His mind is absorbed in him, his speech is absorbed in the Supreme Lord, and his senses are completely absorbed in the Supreme Lord. And he has tears in his eyes and is gazing upon the Krishna's face. Then he left his body with full consciousness. Imagine being lying down on a bed of arrows. How can one be so much fully conscious of the Supreme Lord? One would be actually free from pain, and he was free from all the pains and fear, as Supreme Lord was just before him. He was in extreme. A normal human being cannot survive like that. Nobody can survive on a bed of arrows. But Bhishma Dev, being fully surrendered soul, a devotee of the Supreme Lord, was there and even giving instructions to the Pandavas. So that is the Bhishma Dev. So Bhishma Dev shows real liberation comes from the power of knowledge. It's not the knowledge that is used to serve Krishna, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asked him, who is very dear to him? He says, 4 kinds of devotees come to me. The 4 are the first ones, those who want money, they come to me. Secondly, those who are in pain, they come to me. In any kind of distress, they come to me. Third, those who are inquisitive come to me. Fourth, those who have knowledge, they surrender to me in the light of knowledge. And Bhishma Dev was that. He proved that simple, only knowledge cannot help you to overcome all the pain. Knowledge cannot give you real liberation. But the knowledge used in the service of Krishna, that knowledge, the spiritual knowledge that helps you to surrender to Krishna with full love and devotion, that liberates you. So though he was a warrior, he left the body like a yogi. He was fully aware of Krishna and aware that Krishna is the only shelter. So that is, yesterday also as I said, he is the Mahajana. So Mahajans are looked up to if we are confused in a state of mind where we are confused that what to do and what not to do. We should look up to the Mahajanas. So what these 12 Mahajanas did, how did they live? How did they give their life to Krishna? So that is how one should be. So his death, it says that his death was a perfect in itself. So because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 8th chapter himself, that those who surrender to me, those who remember me at the time of death, they come back to me. And that's what happened with Bhishma Deva. So today now we'll read the purport. That was the previous shlokas where we read all this. Now we go to the purport of this shloka where Prabhupada gives a big purport to this shloka. He says, to enter into or become merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute means to enter the original home of the living being. The living beings are all component parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore they are eternally related with Him as the servitor and the served. So we all are part and parcel of Krishna. Clearly Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, Mame vanchu jivaluka jivabhuta sanatana, manashashtani indrani prakritistani karshati. You all are my part and parcel. Our souls are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And as being His part and parcel, we have to serve Him. We are His servitors. We have to serve Him. He is actually the servitor, and we are serving Him. The Lord is served by all His part and parcels, as the complete machine is served by its parts and parcel. Any part of the machine removed from the whole is no longer important. Similarly, any part and parcel of the Absolute detached from the service of the Lord is useless. So if you have a big machine and even this body is a machine, so this hand, these legs, they are serving this body. If any part is removed from the body, like we have a stroke or something, and our hands become useless, they do not serve the body, they just become a burden. Likewise, if we do not serve the Supreme Lord, we are just acting as a burden, and we will no more be connected to the Supreme world, the spiritual world. So we lose our importance. If we remain connected, we serve the Supreme Lord. So that's how we actually are important, if we serve the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, we are useless. Therefore, however, more integrated living beings who are eternally liberated. So Prabhupada says here, the living beings who are in the material world are all disintegrated parts and parcels. We are all disintegrated parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. We have lost our connection to the Supreme Lord. So reconnect ourselves, to reconnect to the Supreme Lord, we need this human body to actually surrender to the Supreme Lord. The soul in itself cannot surrender. A body that has no form, material form, no human form, cannot surrender to the Supreme Lord. So that, in that sense, this human form is important, but to serve the Supreme Lord. Otherwise it has no value. So we are all disintegrated living beings who are actually trying to find enjoyment in this material world, which is very difficult and impossible to find. You cannot find the bliss, the real enjoyment in this material world. You are at the wrong place if you are looking for peace and happiness, eternal peace and happiness. So this is not the world where you will get it. That is the spiritual world. So when you get connected, reconnection comes, you start enjoying the bliss. If you are not reconnected, you will be suffering in this world. You will have the material enjoyment, material happiness may come, but that's very momentary. That very soon develops into pain and distress. So Prabhupada clearly mentions we are disintegrated parts and parcel of the Supreme Whole in this material world. We are no longer as important as the original parts and parcels. There are, however, more integrated living beings who are eternally liberated. The material energy of the Lord is called Durga Shakti, or the superintendent of the prison house takes charge of the disintegrated parts and parcels. So Prabhupada mentions here Durga Shakti, that is the Mahamaya, that is the external energy of Krishna. There are three energies of Krishna. There is the external energy, internal energy, and the marginal potency. So human beings are marginal potency, Tatastha Shakti, because they are actually flickering, bewildered. They sometimes fall here and sometimes there. The external energy of Krishna is Durga, Mahamaya. She has been appointed as the superintendent of this Mrityu Loka, of this planet. She takes care of the disintegrated parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. Those who have no connection to the Supreme Lord, those who are here in this material world, to fulfill all their material desires, if they go to Durga, she blesses them. So she is the Shakti of Krishna. She has been empowered to take care. Like in the jail, prison house, when you go, there is a superintendent who takes care of all the inmates there. Likewise, Durga is the jailer for us. She has been appointed here to take care of, in this jail, whatever we need. So she is the one who actually supplies all here in the material world. But she cannot give us liberation from this material world. So Prabhupada mentions here, and thus she takes care of the disintegrated parts and parcels, and thus they undergo a conditioned life under the laws of material nature. That is why we are totally under the laws of the material nature. We are imprisoned there. So the laws of material nature apply to us. But once we get connected to the Supreme Lord, once we get our reconnection done, then no more we will be under the laws of nature. We will have a perfect death. We will actually, if we follow the Mahajanas, we will be also experiencing the perfection in death. So Prabhupada writes here, that when the living being does become conscious of this fact, he tries to go back home, back to Godhead. When we come to know our real constitution, our real position, then only we try to go back to Godhead. Those who don't understand the real position, the constitutional position of themselves, of the humans, of what our soul is meant to. Our soul is meant to go back to Godhead. Our soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. It feels the bliss, it feels happiness when it gets reconnected back to Krishna. So that is how it is, Prabhupada says. When we become sad, when we become morose in this world, when we see that this world is just, the application is only laws of nature as applied here. So we will not find any peace and happiness, the eternal peace and happiness. Then they seek back to go back home. They seek a process which following that they can go back to Godhead. And thus the spiritual urge of the living being begins. When they get disappointed from this material world, when they see that they are not getting what they want from this material world, they feel disappointed. And when they feel disappointed, it says, Prabhupada says, then they get the spiritual urge to go back to Godhead. This is called Brahma Jigyasa. The spiritual urge is called Brahma Jigyasa. Many of us must have felt that when we came to ISKCON. We were, like myself, I was also looking for answers. I had this question to myself, why we are suffering in this world, why there is pain of separation, why when someone near and dear one has to go, why does death snatches away, what does death do, where do we go, what happens after death. These were the questions I was seeking the answers to when I came to ISKCON. So likewise, many of us had this Brahma Jigyasa when we entered here. Because we were disappointed with the material life. We were disappointed what is happening, why suffering is there, who are we, what are we doing, who is God. These all are called Brahma Jigyasa. So those who do Brahma Jigyasa, they are actually befitted to go back to Godhead because they are seeking the answers to their questions. They have understood that they are disintegrated from the Supreme Lord. They want to reconnect with the Supreme Lord. So the chanting of the Maha Mantra makes us go back to Godhead. It actually established the reconnection. Prabhupada often said it's a telephone number. It's a 16-worded telephone number that everyone who dials it will get an answer from the Supreme Lord. He is standing there. He is waiting for us to make a call. But we refrain to do so because we think we are enjoying here. We think there is no pain. We think this material world is eternal. This material world will give us all the material things, can give us happiness. Those who think that way, they are the biggest fools in this world. So that is how the Brahma Jigyasa, when it comes to it happens, when this Brahma Jigyasa awakens in you, then you try to find answers to your questions. And the spiritual urge is very important. If even Rupa Goswami says, the price to pay to go back to Godhead is the lolyum, extreme greed in you. When you have extreme greed in you about the spiritual world, when you have the extreme greed to have the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, when you really want to acquire knowledge and you are very greedy about it, like we only know the greed is for material things. When we are greedy about material things, we are obsessed by them. And we do all kinds of things, we try all kinds of, efforts we put in to acquire those material benefits. But then if the same lolyum, the same greed is applied in the spiritual world, when you put all kinds of efforts to know the Supreme Lord, then that is the perfection of life and perfection of death. So that's what Prabhupada writes here. He tells that this spiritual urge is called Brahma Jigyasa, or inquiry about the Brahma. Principally, this Brahma Jigyasa is successful by knowledge, renunciation and devotional service to the Lord. So Brahma Jigyasa, how does one, if you get the knowledge, that is success again, that your quest is actually, you are quenching your thirst. Sorry. So that's your quest, your thirst is quenching. But then, with the knowledge, what should follow? With the knowledge, renunciation should follow. If renunciation is not coming, then what's the use of the knowledge? That is the application. So renunciation will bring, devotional service will bring to the Lord. So knowledge, devotional service and renunciation. These three go hand in hand. But if you just have the knowledge, your pride will increase. You'll become more proud. But if this knowledge of Brahma Jigyasa which you have got, if you apply in the devotional service, renunciation is bound to come. And Gyan or knowledge, Prabhupada says, means the knowledge of everything of Brahman, the supreme. Renunciation means detachment of material affection. And devotional service is the revival of the practice of the original position of the living being. So these three things are that is the crux, the most important part of this purport. Everything is very important, all the lines are important. But this is how when everybody asks that, oh, I know I've got the knowledge now. While coming to ISKCON, I've understood I'm a soul. So that's okay, that's enough. Now I know Krishna is the supreme and I'm the soul. That's enough for your knowledge. But unless the renunciation comes, that is the detachment of the material affection comes, that is not complete in itself. And how does that come? That is by the devotional service. And what is devotional service? Devotional service is the revival of your connection to the Supreme Lord. Revival of that says here, Prabhupada says, revival by practice of the original position of the living being. So our original position is that we are servants of Krishna. We have to serve the Supreme Lord. So Jiva Nitya Sarup, so Jivas, our Nitya Sarup, our eternal Sarup is we are servants of Krishna. So unless we actually go back to that position, we have not understood the Brahma Jigyasa. We are not successful in understanding Brahma Jigyasa. We are not successful in quenching our thirst. So by knowledge, when you get the knowledge, renunciation is bound to come through the devotional service. So devotional service is meant, very important part is the chanting of the holy name. The more we chant the glories of the Supreme Lord, more detached we will become to the material affection. The material affection comes like for the material things, material relationships, everything that is connected in this world, whatever we got from this world, that is material. And if we have any affection to that material, to our big houses or our small houses or a small car or a big car, whatever it may be, a bicycle even, if you have material attachment to it, you actually fail in detachment. So the detachment should be to the material affection, and devotional service means the revival. So revival of your own constitutional position. So when we serve the Supreme Lord under the guidance of the spiritual master, under the instructions of the spiritual master, then what happens? Then these will all fall in place. Then the devotional service, the service which we want to give reaches the Supreme Lord, because we cannot serve the Supreme Lord directly. We need the mediator. So the mediator is the spiritual master. The spiritual guidance helps us. He has that yukti, he has that way with which he can actually take us back to Godhead or give us the service that actually culminates into that service will culminate into being the servant of Krishna. So here Prabhupada says, the successful living beings who are eligible to enter into the realm of the Absolute are called the Jnanis, the Yogis and the Bhaktas. The Jnanis and the Yogis enter into the impersonal rays of the Supreme, but the Bhaktas enter into the spiritual planets known as Vaikunthas. In these spiritual planets, the Supreme Lord as Narayana predominates, and the healthy, unconditioned living beings live there by rendering loving service to the Lord in the capacity of servant, friend, parents and fiancé. So Prabhupada mentions here very clearly, he gives this, the yogis and the jnanis, those are at the stage of just the jnana, and those are at the stage where they are performing the different kinds of hatha yoga, they actually merge into the impersonal form. They merge into the Brahma Jyoti. They do not reach the spiritual planet known as Vaikunthas or even above that. So one who is a bhakta, who is actually serving the Supreme Lord with the devotional service, who is serving the Supreme Lord under the guidance of the spiritual master, they enter into Vaikunthas. So Vaikuntha means where there is no Kuntha. Kuntha means no disease, no suffering. It is free from all the sufferings. It's the place where one gets liberation. That's what we call as mukti. So that happens in Vaikuntha. And in these spiritual planets, the Supreme Lord, Narayana predominates. So here we have the Narayana, the four-handed form of Krishna, it predominates here. If you want to reach the Dvibhuj form, you want to have darshan, that is only in the Golok Dhama. When you reach the Golok Dham, Golok Vrindavan, there you find Sham Sundar with his consort Radharani. So that is Dvibhuj form, the two-armed Sham Sundar. So in the this here, the Narayana predominates. And the healthy, unconditioned living beings live there. So how does, when we reach there, if we reach there, our souls, what do? They serve the Supreme Lord. They render loving service to the Lord in the capacity of the relation of being that is the servant, dasyam, or a sakyam in a friend form, or vatsalya form, that is the parent, and madhurya, the fiancé. So in different rasas you serve Krishna. Krishna is served in different rasas. So these rasas are, and the Shant rasa is the neutral ras. So these 5 rasas we serve Krishna. So there the unconditioned living beings enjoy life in full freedom with the Lord, whereas the impersonalist, jnanis and yogis enter into the impersonal glowing effulgence of the Vaikuntha planet. So the Vaikuntha planet, they actually they are glowing in effulgence. They give out the lights. It says even the impersonal form of Krishna is the Brahma Jyoti. So Brahma Jyoti means the Jyoti, the light coming from, the effulgence coming from the body of the Supreme Lord. That is, this light is equivalent to, it says, millions and billions of sun. So if one sun can give so much of light that you cannot see, look up towards the sun, you cannot see him. Likewise, if millions and billions of suns, if they give out light, you cannot see the Supreme Lord, who is behind that. But then the jnanis and yogis are happy to get merged there, because then, but they do not get to serve the Supreme Lord. They do not get to see him face to face. They are just into the effulgence of the Vaikuntha planets. So the Vaikuntha, Prabhupada mentions ahead, Vaikuntha planets are all self-illuminating like the sun, and the rays of the Vaikuntha planets are called Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti is spread unlimitedly, and the material world is but covered portion of an insignificant part of the same Brahma Jyoti. So Brahma Jyoti is spread unlimitedly. It is infinite. It is widely spread. But the material world is a very small portion of it. It's but a covered part of the insignificant part of the same Brahma Jyoti. This covering is temporary, and therefore it is a sort of illusion. Bhishma Dev, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord in his eternal form of Parthasarthi predominates over the unconditioned living beings who are constantly engaged in the service of Lord. So where did Bhishma Dev enter? Bhishma Dev, when left his body as a pure devotee of the Lord, gazing at the Supreme Lord, he entered the spiritual realm of one of the Vaikuntha planets, because he was meditating upon the Parthasarthi form of Krishna. Parthasarthi form of Krishna, what he saw in the Parthasarthi is the Sarthi, is the chariot driver of Arjuna, Pritha's son, Partha. So he was meditating upon that form because he was gazing at that form of the Lord, where he was standing as a Sarthi of Arjuna, the chariot driver of Arjuna. And so he reaches that planet where Parthasarthi is predominant. The love and affection which bind the Lord and the devotee are exhibited in the case of Bhishma Dev. So that kind of love and affection is the connection. So when we love the Supreme Lord, we serve the Supreme Lord. Our love is only can be actually seen when we are serving. The more nicely we serve, the more we love the God. If we love the God more, if we love Krishna very much, we say, oh, I love Krishna. I cannot be without him. That reflects in your service. If you are serving him Without any, it says, unconditional love can only be seen when you are serving Krishna. So the love and affection which bind, this is the binding, this is the rope of, actually the rope of love and affection actually binds the Lord and the devotee. So there is only one connection with the Supreme Lord, that is through love and affection that is reflected in your service. Then when you serve Krishna nicely, when you serve the spiritual master nicely, Krishna is pleased. And when Krishna is pleased, your bond is actually becoming very strong. So we have material bonds, we have bonds with our family. We say, oh, I have a very, materially I am very actually affectionate to my children. I have got a very nice bonding with them. But what about the bond with Supreme Lord? So the bond with the Supreme Lord is much more important than having the material bonds. So this bond with the Supreme Lord can give us liberation. It can take us back to Godhead. It can take us to the Vaikuntha planets. But the bond, if we have in the material world with so-called relations, what will it give? It again will bring us back to this material world. It will never let us liberate. So Bhishma Dev never forgot the Lord in his transcendental feature as the Parthasarthi. And the Lord was present personally before Bhishma Dev while he was passing to the transcendental world. That is the highest perfection of life. So that is the highest perfection of life. When one crosses this, when one passes this world and enters the transcendental realm, enters the spiritual realm, enters the Vaikuntha. So that is important for us, that this human life we have got actually to get the perfection of death. People think, oh, human life is meant to just live, enjoy, eat and die. Who has seen what's going to happen? These scriptures tell us very much clearly what's going to happen. What's going to happen when you die, where your soul goes, what will happen to your soul, what kind of life you led is going to decide at the time of death, the decision is going to come. So death is actually the final examination. We are preparing for the examination. So this examination will actually end when we pass out, or if we fail, we will be back here. But if we pass out this final examination of death, we'll go back to Godhead. So Bhishma Dev actually got the perfection of life. So those are fools who really think that there is nothing after life. But the death is not final. It is the final examination. It is not final in itself. It is the deciding factor is the death. The death decides where you will go. So our death is the final examination we are going to appear. So the preparation is going on throughout the life. So we have to prepare ourselves. This life we got for the preparation. We should not be very carefree in this life. One has to be very, very careful. Very, very careful in what they think, where they put their minds into, where they put their hearts into. So your mind, your speech, your actions, these three matter a lot in this lifetime. And when these three are centered around the Supreme Lord, it's full and final that we will go back to Godhead. We will get the perfection of life. So Prabhupada could have ended this, as I always say, this verse in just 2 lines he could have just given us. But he gave again a gist of Bhagavad Gita in this. He talks about again and again why Prabhupada is repeating everything again and again for us. Why does he repeat? Because repetition drives the point home. He wants us all to go back to Godhead. That's why he is repeating in his purports again and again from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Bhagavatam, the verse again he repeats in the purports. Everything for us so that we become self-realized. We may go back to Godhead because he is the real spiritual father for us. He is giving us this knowledge so that we may not actually wander here in the material world. We may understand our real constitution, that who are we. So even the demigods, they look for this body. It's written in the scriptures, Dev Simre Dehi. Dev Simre Ye Dehi. So Devatas, the demigods even, they want the human forms of body. Why? Because in human form only we can go back to Godhead. There is no other way we can go back to Godhead. Only in the human form one can actually have the wisdom to surrender to the Supreme Lord, surrender to the spiritual master, and then one can perfect his life. The perfection of life he can get only in the human form. Even if demigods, what they get all the pleasures of the heavenly planets. So they want this human form because in demigods, when you are a demigod or a goddess, you cannot get liberated. It cannot happen. Because everybody actually compares when living on the earth, they compare like Swarg. They compare everything with heaven. They say, oh, my house is as beautiful as some heavenly planet. It has got all the facilities like heaven. And in Hindi, we usually say Swarg Jaisa. We compare everything with Swarg. We compare everything with heavens. Because we want to enjoy the heavens. But those who really want to go back to Godhead, those who want to serve Krishna, they have to practice it here. They have to serve Krishna here on this material world, in this material world, on the Mritya-loka. So when detachment comes, when you have all the attachment around you, everything that is attracting you, that is very easy. Getting attached to all the material is very easy. Getting detached from the material is very difficult. So those who attain that through devotional service and through the knowledge, they actually perfect their life. So that is how it is that even if we get the material, even if we become demigods, we will not get liberation. Liberation can only be sought after in the human form. So we are very fortunate that we have got a human form. We have got such nice, Prabhupada used to say these temples of ISKCON are Vaikunthas. They are actually Vaikunthas. They are not actually connected to the outside world. They are connected, but they are detached. Where you chant, where you dance, where you sing the glories of the Lord, you dance before the deities, you do everything for the deities. The temples, the ISKCON temples are particularly everything is done for the deities, for the pleasure of the deities. Beautiful palace-like temples are made for the pleasure of the deities. The bhoga is offered for the pleasure of the deities. The deity dressing is done so immaculately for the pleasure of the deities. So everything is taken care only for the deities. So that is how these are Vaikunthas. Prabhupada used to say, those who really want to see what a Vaikuntha is must join in the temple, must come to the temple and see for themselves that what a Vaikuntha is. So whenever you are in the temple, many of us know that we feel the bliss, we feel the enjoyment. We don't want to go out into the material world. The moment you step out of the temple, you are surrounded by so many material grievances. So those who are really dedicated in serving the Supreme Lord, they enjoy the bliss here so that they may eternally enjoy the bliss when they actually go back to Godhead. So that is how Prabhupada, the pure devotee of the Lord, has given us. So these beautiful purports are the real knowledge. So those who follow this knowledge, they are successful. Follow this knowledge and they go to the renunciation level through the devotional service to the Lord, then they make their life perfect. So this line from the purport is actually what one should pick up from this shloka, that the Brahma Jigyasa is successful if by the knowledge, by the renunciation and devotional service to the Lord. So these three things are very important in life. The knowledge of the Supreme Lord, the knowledge of the Brahma, and the renunciation should come. Those who don't feel the renunciation in them, they have still to practice a lot. And that comes through devotional service. So keep on chanting the holy name, keep on following the four regulative principles, keep on coming to the temple for the darshan of the deities. You will one day find the detachment of the material affection and you will perfect your life. So this is how what Prabhupada has given to all of us in the purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. So any questions? Yes, Prabhuji. So No questions? Everybody's fine?
Everybody must be completely satisfied.
So everybody is satisfied, so we end the session then. Right. Oh, no. Yes. Is there any question? Jnanis and yogis. Jnanis are the ones those who just believe in the knowledge and they just do vad vivad on the knowledge. The yogis, those who follow Hatha Yoga. So Krishna says they end up in the impersonal effulgence of me. They never come back to me. They think I'm there in the Virat form only, or the nature, everything. We say Krishna is in every part and particle of this world. Yes, nothing can exist without him. But every part and particle is not Krishna. Krishna is there, but the pillar from which Narsimhadev appeared is not his home. He was there already, but he is everywhere. So the yogis and the karmis, they reach nowhere. So the jnanis and the yogis, they reach only till the effulgence. So that's why Prabhupada is telling us, become a bhakta. Become a bhakta who follows the instructions of the Supreme Lord, instructions of the Mahajanas, instructions of the spiritual master, and instructions of like Srila Prabhupada. For us, it's Srila Prabhupada. And following his instructions is most important for a bhakta. Because he is the eminent Shiksha Guru for all of us, the instructing spiritual master, he is the one. So as we enter, we follow him, we become the bhakta. So as we advance in spiritual life, as we advance in following all the rules and regulations of bhakti, we become advanced bhaktas. So as we advance in bhakti, the renunciation comes over. The renunciation is from all material designations. We rise above all designations. We just want to serve Krishna. And we only want to serve him as the orders, per the orders of the spiritual father. That's like Prabhupada is actually our Bhishma Dev. He is the grandfather for us. So he is actually the Bhishma for us. So we follow his instructions. Whatever he has laid down for us to follow, we follow that. And then we reach the perfection of life. So our perfection, our main actually aim in life is not to go for material, run after material designations, but to actually run after the spiritual world. That is what Prabhupada is saying. He clearly mentions here that the success of this, he says, Brahma Jigyasa is successful by knowledge. So Brahma Jigyasa, we all had Brahma Jigyasa in our hearts at one point. That is why we are here. It cannot be that we never had Brahma Jigyasa. We all had it. It may have come up through somebody has given us a book, somebody talked about ISKCON, somebody took us there. It may happen in any case. But we all had Brahma Jigyasa. That is why we enter the temple. And once we enter the temple, we should be very careful that we just don't become a jnani or a yogi. We should not get puffed up. We should not get puffed up with any kind of whatever designations or whatever we may get here. But we all should remember that we are servants of Krishna. So we are servants, and Krishna says, you become my servant when you serve my devotees 7 times. So it's just not for saying. We sometimes write in ISKCON, you are humble servant. So we should mean it. We should never say, oh, just for the sake of saying. So I have always corrected myself when I read this word, humble servant. I do correct, yes, we should act like one, and that's what is a bhakta is. So that is a very good question you put up, Prabhuji. Jnani, yogi, bhaktas, we should differentiate in them. And our purpose is to become bhakta. So because only the bhaktas enter the spiritual planets. So if we really want to enter the spiritual planet, we have to surrender to the spiritual father. So we have to surrender to for us, the Mahajan is Srila Prabhupada. So he is the Bhishma Dev, he is our grandfather for us. So he will take us back, we follow him, we follow his footsteps, we follow his purpose, and we go back to Godhead. So that is how we will enter the spiritual realm, if we follow Srila Prabhupada. So this is very important part of this shloka. Thank you, Prabhuji. I hope I've satisfied you.
So yogis will not have any knowledge, can you say that?
Yogis have knowledge, the Hatha Yoga they are following, but they will reach nowhere. They will reach only the effulgence. What's the use of the effulgence? What's the use of merging into Brahma Jyoti? What's the use of going there where you cannot see Krishna, where you cannot serve Krishna? It is again for us. We will be liberated. We will not come back to Godhead, back to Mrityu Loka. But then that liberation is of no use where you cannot serve the Supreme Lord, where you cannot have His darshan. What's the use of just merging into His effulgence? But bhaktas can only reach there where they can serve Supreme Lord face to face. So Prabhupada clearly mentions in Vaikuntha Lokas even they serve in 5 rasas. So we get to choose any ras. Those who are like worshipping Laddu Gopal here, they will get to worship Krishna there in the Vatsalya form. Like Bhishma there was actually seeing Krishna all the time as the Parthasarthi. And now he is leaving his body watching him as the Parthasarthi. So he is going to get to serve Parthasarthi in the Vaikuntha Loka. So what's the use of being a yogi or a jnani? That is only, jnanis are always running after knowledge, just the knowledge, and then they get puffed up. Because they think they have got everything without practicing. So unless you practice that knowledge, you cannot get liberation as a bhakta. You may have all the knowledge, you may do all the charcha on the knowledge, you may discuss knowledge. But then you may you may know everything here. The Bhagavatam shlokas by heart you may learn it. You learn Bhagavad Gita, you learn Chaitanya Charitamrita. But then if you are not practicing it, what's the use? So practicing is important and that makes you a bhakta. So yogis, they perform all the Hatha Yoga. You do all you get everything till Dharana, Dhriti, Samadhi, all the eightfold of the yoga, this asana, and everything you follow. But then ultimately what's the use of that? That's what Prabhupada is saying. What's the use? You may do yoga for hundreds of years, but then what's the use if you don't get to see the Supreme Lord, if you don't get to do service to Him face to face? That's important. So just to understand the importance of being a bhakta, and being a bhakta is the most difficult part, because that is actually the yogis and the jnanis, they live for themselves. They do practice everything for themselves. But the bhakta has to actually follow the Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Sahishana, because he has to do for others. He has to serve others. So bhakta, being a bhakta, it's a very small word. It's a very small word, but it's the most difficult part. Being a devotee, remaining as a bhakta and following the principles of devotional life, it's very difficult. The most important part is Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Sahishana. And that I have learned from my own Guru Maharaj, seeing him throughout his life. Like I have 26 years, I have been watching him. He followed all the verses. Trinadapi Sunichain was the verse that was totally he was dedicated to. That's what he taught all of us. And I don't know how we will reach that position. It's very tough. Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Sahishana. So bhakta, being a bhakta is very difficult. And yet very easy also if we follow the principles, if we follow someone who is senior, like the spiritual master, like Srila Prabhupada, if we follow them in Trinadapi Sunichain, of course we will actually become successful. Because humility will come only in devotional life, in tolerating others, and not amanina manadena kirtaniye sada hari. When we do not actually look for our own glorifications, we glorify others. So I said, being a bhakta is all for others. So that is why it is difficult. A devotee means who is serving others, who is always working for others. That is a devotee, a real devotee. He is not a devotee who only thinks himself to be the prime. I hope the answer has become too long, because another, it's a whole lecture comes up in this. Because this question of yours, Prabhuji, was very big, describing Jnani, Yogi and the Bhaktas. So being a Bhakta is very, very difficult. So We only pray to Supreme Lord, we pray to Srila Prabhupada to make us a nice devotee so that we remain under his shelter always and so that we go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. So we end the session here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki jai, God Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Mother.
Thank you, Guruji.